She added some weight after childbirth, but her billionaire husband dumped her. 5 months later, he's begging for her back after he sees her new transformation. She gave him everything: her youth, her love, her loyalty. But when her body changed after childbirth, he discarded her like yesterday's news. Would you still love someone if they no longer looked the same? Share your experiences in the comments. Have you ever felt abandoned or judged for your appearance? In the opulent world of high society, where appearances often overshadow authenticity, lies a tale of love, betrayal, and redemption. Our protagonist, a caramel-skinned American woman named Simone, once lived a fairy tale life with her billionaire husband, Julian. Their love story was the envy of many, until the birth of their child changed everything. Postpartum, Simone's body bore the beautiful marks of motherhood, but instead of support, she faced disdain from Julian, who valued her for her looks more than her soul. Feeling unloved and unwanted, Simone embarked on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. 5 months later, Simone reemerged, not just with a changed physique, but with renewed confidence and purpose. Her transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional and spiritual. When Julian saw the new Simone, he was filled with regret and sought to win her back. This story delves deep into themes of self-worth, the societal pressures on women's appearances, and the true meaning of love. It's a narrative that challenges the superficial standards of beauty and celebrates the strength and resilience of a woman rediscovering herself. Now, let's get into the story. The chandelier light danced across Simone's caramel skin as she stood in the heart of a New York City ballroom, her emerald gown clinging to her curves. The gala was a glittering spectacle. Billionaires, celebrities, and power players swirling through a sea of champagne and ambition. At 26, Simone felt like an imposter, her small-town Georgia roots a faint echo beneath the heels clicking on marble. But Julian's hand, warm and possessive on her lower back, anchored her. He was the city's golden son, a 35-year-old billionaire whose tech empire reshaped industries. His smile, sharp and magnetic, made her feel like the only woman in the room. "You're stealing the show," Julian murmured, his lips brushing her ear as they swayed to a string quartet. "From the moment I saw you, I knew you were different." Simone's heart fluttered, her laugh soft but guarded. "Different can be good, right?" His eyes, a piercing blue, held hers. "Better than good. Perfect." She wanted to believe him. 6 months ago, she'd been a graphic designer scraping by, her dreams of art school buried under bills. Then Julian walked into her coffee shop, charmed by her quick wit and warm smile. Now here she was, his fiancée, draped in diamonds he'd chosen. The fairy tale was intoxicating, but a quiet unease gnawed at her. Julian's world demanded perfection, his tailored suits, his sleek penthouse, his curated life. Could she keep up? "Smile, darling," he said, guiding her toward a cluster of investors. "They're watching." She did, her lips curving effortlessly, but her mind drifted to their late-night talks, when he'd promised her a life of love, not just luxury. "I don't care about the money," she'd told him once, curled on his leather couch. "I just want you." "And you have me," he'd said, kissing her deeply. "Always." Now, as cameras flashed and champagne flowed, that promise felt distant. A woman in a sequined gown, Julian's business partner Lena, approached, her smile tight. "Simone, you're radiant," she said, her tone clipped. "Julian's lucky to have such a fresh face." Simone caught the edge in her voice, the unspoken judgment. "Thank you," she said, her warmth unwavering. "I'm lucky, too." Lena's eyes flicked to Julian, who was deep in conversation with the silver-haired tycoon. "He's particular, you know, likes things just so." The words landed like a subtle jab, but Simone held her gaze. I know what he likes. Lena smirked, drifting off, but the exchange left a chill. Simone sipped her champagne, watching Julian work the room. His charm was effortless, his laugh a currency that bought loyalty. She loved him, his drive, his rare moments of vulnerability. But Lena's warning echoed. Was she enough for him, or just a trophy in his perfect world? Later, in their penthouse, Simone kicked off her heels, the city skyline glittering beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. Julian loosened his tie, his mood buoyant. "You were incredible tonight," he said, pulling her close. "Everyone's talking about my fiancé." She smiled, but her voice was soft. "They're talking about your empire, Julian. I'm just along for the ride." He tilted her chin, his gaze intense. "You're not just anything. You're mine." His kiss was hungry, claiming, and she melted into it, wanting to believe the fairy tale. But as they moved to the bedroom, his hands tracing her body, she felt a flicker of doubt. He loved her now, but what if she changed? What if the world he'd built demanded more than she could give? As she fell asleep in his arms, the question lingered, unanswered. The gala's glamour, Lena's barb, Julian's perfection. They were threads in a dream that felt too fragile to last. Somewhere, beneath the dazzle, a clock was ticking, and Simone couldn't shake the feeling that her fairy tale was built on sand. Have you ever felt like you were living a dream, only to wake up to a harsh reality? Share your story in the comments. If you've made it this far, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I truly hope you're enjoying the story. It means so much to have you here, sharing this moment with me. Please take a second to tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our story family reaches. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so we can keep sharing these powerful stories together. Now, let's continue with the story. Simone woke in Julian's penthouse, his arm draped over her, the city's glow filtering through the windows. The gala's dazzle lingered, but so did Lena's sharp words and the quiet doubt in Simone's heart. Julian's world was a whirlwind of perfection, and she was swept up in it, her love for him a tether to a fairy tale she desperately wanted to believe. But as she traced the diamonds on her engagement ring, the weight of his expectations pressed heavier. Could she be the woman he needed, or was she just a fleeting spark in his curated life? The months that followed were a blur of romance, each moment polished to a dreamlike sheen. Julian whisked Simone to Paris for a weekend, her laughter echoing through Montmartre as he sketched her silhouette against the Seine. "You're my muse," he said, his voice warm, and she believed him. Their engagement party, hosted in a rooftop garden draped with fairy lights, drew gasps from New York's elite. Simone, in a cream silk gown, felt like royalty, Julian's hand never leaving hers. "You've tamed him," his mother, Eleanor, said, her smile thin. "No small feat." Simone caught the edge in her tone but brushed it off. "We're good for each other," she replied, her confidence buoyed by Julian's gaze across the room. The wedding was a spectacle, held in a Hamptons estate with ocean views. Simone walked down the aisle, her caramel skin glowing against ivory lace, her heart pounding as Julian's eyes locked on hers. "You're perfect," he whispered at the altar, and for that moment she felt it. Vows exchanged. They danced under a canopy of stars, the world fading to just them. "I love you," she murmured, her head against his chest. "Forever," he promised, his lips brushing her forehead. The honeymoon in Santorini was a haze of whitewashed villas and turquoise waters. Julian was attentive, his charm effortless as they lounged on private beaches. Simone felt untouchable, her small town past a distant memory. But late at night, when he worked on his laptop, she sensed a restlessness in him, a hunger for control that love alone couldn't sate. Back in New York, settled into their penthouse, Simone noticed a shift. Julian's schedule grew relentless, his tech empire demanding more. She filled her days with art, sketching designs for a gallery show she dreamed of hosting. Then, 6 weeks after the wedding, a wave of nausea hit. A drugstore test confirmed it. 2 pink lines. Her heart raced as she waited for Julian to come home. When he walked in, tie loosened. She couldn't hold back. "We're going to be parents," she said, holding up the test, her smile wide. Julian froze, his eyes flickering. "That's unexpected." Her stomach dipped at his tone, but she pressed on. "A good unexpected, right?" He forced a smile, pulling her into a hug. "Of course, darling, it's just a lot." She nodded, wanting to believe his hesitation was shock, not doubt. That night, as he slept, she lay awake, her hand on her belly. A baby, their baby, felt like a miracle. But Julian's reaction, cool and measured, was a crack in their fairy tale, too subtle to name but too real to ignore. Pregnancy transformed Simone's world. Morning sickness gave way to a glow that drew compliments from strangers. She poured her joy into preparing for the baby, decorating a nursery in soft blues and yellows. Zayla, their daughter, arrived in a rush of love, her tiny cries filling the penthouse. Simone held her, tears streaming, her body aching but her heart full. Motherhood was raw, beautiful chaos, and she embraced it, her curves softening, stretch marks mapping her sacrifice. But Julian grew distant. At first it was small, missed dinners, late nights at the office. "Business is tight," he'd say, kissing her forehead before vanishing into his study. Simone, sleep-deprived and tethered to Zayla, let it slide. He loved them, she told herself. He was just busy. Then he missed the first ultrasound. Simone sat in the doctor's office, Zayla cooing in her arms, the grainy image of their second child flickering on the screen. She texted Julian, but he didn't reply. When he came home, she was waiting, her voice steady despite the hurt. "You missed the ultrasound," she said, cradling Zayla. He sighed, loosening his cufflinks. "Business doesn't wait, Simone." Her chest tightened. "This is our baby, Julian. I needed you there." "I'm providing for us," he snapped, his eyes cold. "You think this empire runs itself?" She flinched, the sharpness cutting deep. "I don't need an empire. I need you." He softened, but only slightly. "I'm here now. Let's not fight." She nodded, swallowing her anger, but the distance grew. Julian's gaze lingered on her changed body, her fuller hips, the softness childbirth left behind, with a flicker of something she couldn't name. Disappointment? Disdain? He stopped touching her the way he used to, his kisses perfunctory. Lena's voice from the gala echoed, "He's particular." Simone tried to bridge the gap, dressing up for date nights he canceled, cooking meals he barely ate. She caught him staring at photos from their honeymoon, her pre-baby body frozen in time. "You miss that version of me," she said one night, her voice barely a whisper. He looked away, guilty. "You're still beautiful, Simone." But the words felt hollow, and her insecurity festered. She saw it in his eyes at galas, where he charmed women who fit his old ideal, slim, polished, untouched by motherhood. Simone, once his muse, felt like a relic, her worth tied to a body that no longer existed. The tension peaked when Zayla was 4 months old. Julian came home late, reeking of whiskey. Simone, exhausted, confronted him. "Where were you?" "Networking," he said, avoiding her gaze. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm your wife, not your assistant." He laughed, a cruel edge to it. "You're barely holding it together, Simone. Look at you. Sweatpants, baby spit. I'm out there keeping us afloat." Her breath caught, tears burning. "This is motherhood, Julian. I gave you a daughter." "And I gave you this," he gestured to the penthouse, his voice rising. "Maybe it's not enough for you anymore." She stared, stunned, as he stormed to his study. The fairy tale was crumbling, and she felt it, his love, conditional and shallow, slipping away. Alone with Zayla's soft breaths, Simone's resolve hardened. She wasn't enough for him, but she'd be enough for herself and her daughter. The next morning, Julian acted as if nothing happened, but the rift was undeniable. Simone noticed his phone buzzing late at night, messages he hid. A woman's name, Clara, flashed once, a colleague, he claimed. But the seed of doubt grew. Was he cheating? Or was he simply done with her, a wife who no longer fit his perfect mold? As she rocked Zayla, Simone made a silent vow. She'd reclaim herself, not for Julian, but for her. The journey ahead was unclear, but the hurt was a spark, igniting something fierce. Julian's empire might not bend, but she would. And when she did, he'd see what he'd lost. Simone rocked Zayla gently, the penthouse silent except for the baby's soft breaths. Julian's cruel words from the night before, "You're barely holding it together," cut deeper with each replay. His empire, his excuses, the flash of Clara's name on his phone. They were fractures in a fairy tale she'd clung to. She'd vowed to reclaim herself, but the mirror reflected a woman she barely recognized. Fuller curves, stretch marks, exhaustion etched into her caramel skin. Motherhood was her pride, but Julian's coldness made it feel like a flaw. As dawn broke, she steeled herself. She'd fight for Zayla, for her worth, even if Julian wouldn't. The weeks after Zayla's birth were a blur of sleepless nights and strained silences. Simone poured her love into her daughter, memorizing every coo, every tiny grip of her fingers. But the penthouse, once a haven, felt like a cage. Julian's late nights grew frequent, his excuses flimsier. "Client dinners," he'd say, brushing off her questions. She noticed his eyes linger on her body, not with desire, but with a critical edge that made her shrink. Simone tried to reclaim their spark. She bought a sleek black dress, hoping to surprise him at a rare dinner at home. Zayla was asleep, the table set with candles. When Julian walked in, he paused, his gaze sweeping over her. "Trying something new?" he asked, his tone flat. Her smile faltered. "Thought we could have a night, just us." He nodded, sitting, but his attention drifted to his phone. Halfway through dinner, he sighed, setting it down. "You used to turn heads, Simone. Now—" Her fork froze midair, her heart plummeting. "Now I'm the mother of your child." His jaw tightened, guilt flickering before defensiveness took over. "I'm just saying you've let yourself go. People notice." "People?" she asked, voice trembling. "Or you?" He didn't answer, but his silence was louder than words. She stood, clearing plates to hide her tears. In bed, he reached for her, but she pulled away, the sting of his criticism a wall between them. She lay awake, replaying every glance, every missed ultrasound, every late night. Was it her body, or had his love always been skin deep? The criticism sharpened. At a charity gala, Simone wore a sapphire gown, her curves accentuated but elegant. Julian's colleague, Lena, smirked as they entered. "Bold choice," she said, eyeing Simone's figure. Julian said nothing, his hand stiff on her arm. Later, he muttered, "Maybe stick to looser dresses next time." Her chest burned. "You used to love how I looked." "I still do," he said, but his eyes avoided hers. "Just take care of yourself." She swallowed the hurt, but it festered. She joined a gym, not for him, but to feel strong again. The workouts were grueling, her body sore, but the mirror showed no quick fix. Motherhood had reshaped her, and she was learning to love it. Zayla's life was worth every mark. But Julian's disdain was a constant weight, his affection rationed like a reward she couldn't earn. She caught him texting Clara late one night, his laugh low and private. "Work," he said when she asked, but the lie hung heavy. Simone's insecurity battled her pride. Was he cheating? Or was he simply done with a wife who no longer fit his world's glossy mold? She didn't confront him, not yet. Zayla needed her steady, and she wasn't ready to break. The breaking point came 5 months after Zayla's birth. Simone was folding laundry, Zayla napping, when Julian came home early, a rarity. His face was taut, his usual charm absent. She sensed it before he spoke, the air charged with finality. "We need to talk," he said, sitting on the couch, his hands clasped. "This, us, it's not working." Her heart stopped, but she kept her voice even. "What's not working, Julian?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You're different, Simone. I'm different. We're not the same people we were." She set the laundry down, her hands shaking. "I'm different because I'm a mother. Your daughter's mother." "I know," he said, his tone clipped. "But I can't do this. I need space. A break. A break." Her voice rose, disbelief cracking her calm. "You mean you want out?" His silence was deafening. She stared at him, the man who'd vowed forever, now unraveling it with a single word. "What about Zayla?" she asked, tears burning. "She's my daughter," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "We'll figure out custody. You'll be taken care of." "Taken care of?" She laughed, bitter and raw. "I'm not your employee, Julian. I'm your wife." He stood, avoiding her gaze. "I'm staying at the Four Seasons. We'll talk later." He left, the door clicking shut like a guillotine. Simone sank to the floor, sobs racking her. Zayla's cry broke through, and she pulled herself up, wiping her face. Her daughter needed her, even if Julian didn't. But the pain was a vice, squeezing her heart. His rejection wasn't just of her body, it was of her soul, her sacrifice, her love. She spent days in a fog, caring for Zayla while dodging calls from Julian's lawyer. The penthouse, his empire's crown, felt like a mockery. She saw Clara's name in a gossip column linked to Julian at a tech event. The betrayal cut deeper, though she had no proof. Was Clara the reason, or was Simone's changed body excuse enough? The questions gnawed, but pride stirred. She wouldn't beg, wouldn't fade into his shadow. Simone made a choice. She packed essentials, Zayla's clothes, her sketchbooks, a few photos, and left the penthouse, leaving her wedding ring on the counter. She didn't tell Julian, didn't tell anyone. With savings from her design work, she rented a small apartment in Brooklyn, far from his glittering world. Zayla's laughter filled the space, a reminder of why she'd fight. She blocked Julian's number, ignoring his lawyer's emails. The public eye, his world of galas and headlines, lost her. Simone disappeared, a ghost reclaiming her life. Her family in Georgia begged her to come home, but she refused. This was her stand, her rebirth. She enrolled in therapy, joined a mom's group, and started sketching again, her art raw with pain and hope. The gym became her sanctuary, not to chase Julian's ideal, but to feel powerful. Slowly, her body responded, stronger, leaner. But the real change was inside. She laughed freer, stood taller, her caramel skin glowing with purpose. Zayla, now 6 months old, was her anchor, her reason. But questions lingered. Julian's break. Was it final, or would he come crawling back? Clara's role, the gossip columns, were they truth or distraction? And the penthouse left behind with her ring, had he noticed her absence, or was he too busy building his empire? Simone didn't know, but she felt the clock ticking. She was transforming, not for him, but for herself. And when the world saw the new Simone, she'd be unstoppable. Simone settled into her Brooklyn apartment, Zayla's giggles filling the modest space as she unpacked the last of their belongings. The penthouse, Julian's cold dismissal, and the glint of her abandoned wedding ring felt like another life. His break had shattered her, but leaving was her first step toward reclaiming herself. Therapy, art, and Zayla's love were her lifelines, but the sting of betrayal lingered. Clara's name in gossip columns, Julian's criticism of her postpartum body. She'd vanished from his world, but questions gnawed. Did he miss her? Was Clara more than a rumor? Simone pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on her vow to rise, not for him, but for herself and her daughter. The months in Brooklyn were a quiet revolution. Simone's therapist, Dr. Ellis, a warm woman with sharp insights, helped her untangle the pain. You tied your worth to Julian's gaze, Dr. Ellis said in their first session. What do you see when you look in the mirror? Simone didn't have an answer then, but she started looking. She joined a gym, not to erase her stretch marks, but to feel strong. Her body responded, muscles toned, stamina grew, but the real shift was deeper. She stood taller, her caramel skin glowing with confidence. Art became her voice again. She sketched late at night, raw emotions spilling onto canvas. Zayla, now crawling, was her muse, her tiny hands smudging paint as they worked together. A mom's group at the community center became her tribe. Over coffee, she shared her story, Julian's rejection, her escape, and found solidarity. He didn't deserve you, said Maya, a single mom with a fierce laugh. But you deserve you. Maya invited her to a local art show where Simone's sketches drew a small crowd. A gallery owner, impressed, offered her a slot in a group exhibit. It was a spark, a glimpse of a life she'd dreamed of before Julian's world consumed her. Then came the twist. At the exhibit, a woman approached Simone, her card reading, Content Creator Manager. Your art tells a story, she said. Ever thought about sharing it online? Simone hesitated. Social media was Julian's domain, all gloss and filters. But the idea took root. She started an Instagram, posting her sketches and captions about motherhood, loss, and resilience. Her honesty struck a chord. Followers grew, comments flooding with, You're inspiring me, and keep going. Emboldened, Simone joined a public speaking workshop. Her first talk at a community center was shaky but raw. They said I lost myself, she told the small crowd, her voice steadying. But I found someone better. The applause was electric, and a local blogger recorded it, the video going viral. Offers poured in, podcasts, panels, even a women's conference. Simone, once a small-town dreamer, was becoming a voice, her story of self-love resonating far beyond Brooklyn. By Zayla's first birthday, Simone was a rising influencer, her platform a blend of art, fitness, and empowerment. She spoke at a national conference, her caramel skin radiant under stage lights, her curves celebrated in a tailored jumpsuit. Pain tried to break me, she said, gripping the mic. But I turned it into power. You can too. The crowd roared, and backstage a magazine editor approached, pitching a feature. Simone agreed, unaware it would change everything. Julian sat in his Manhattan office, the city skyline a cold backdrop. The penthouse was empty without Simone. Zayla's absence, a quiet ache he drowned in work and whiskey. Clara, the colleague rumored to be more, was a fleeting distraction. Nothing serious, but enough to fuel gossip. He'd expected Simone to beg for him back, to stay in his orbit. But her disappearance stung. His lawyer's emails went unanswered. Her ring left behind a silent rebuke. He told himself he was better off. She'd let herself go, couldn't keep up. But late at night, her laugh haunted him. Then he saw the magazine cover. Simone, radiant, stared from a newsstand, her eyes fierce, her body strong and unapologetic. The headline, From Heartbreak to Empowerment, Simone's Journey. Julian froze, buying the issue, his hands shaking as he read. Her story, his rejection, her transformation, her rise as a speaker and influencer, laid bare his failures. She hadn't just survived, She'd thrived, her light brighter without him. He tracked her down to a charity gala in New York, one he knew she'd attend. The ballroom was a mirror of their past, chandeliers glittering, but Julian felt out of place. His charm dulled. Simone entered, a vision in a crimson gown, her presence commanding. Heads turned, whispers following her, and Julian's chest tightened. She was no longer his muse. She was her own. He approached, his throat dry. "Simone, you've changed." She turned, her gaze cool but steady. "No, Julian, I've evolved," he faltered, her confidence disarming. "I read about you, the magazine, your talks. I didn't realize—" "Didn't realize what?" she asked, her voice sharp. "That I was more than your trophy? That I could be enough for myself?" "I messed up," he said, stepping closer. "I see you now, Simone. I want you back, you and Zayla." Her laugh was soft, cutting. "You don't get to want us now. You threw us away." "I was wrong," he pressed, desperation creeping in. "I love you. I always did." She studied him, her eyes tracing the man who'd broken her. "Love doesn't judge a body, Julian. It doesn't walk away when things get real. I loved you, but I love myself more now." He reached for her hand, but she stepped back, unshaken. "Where's Zayla?" he asked, voice low. "I'm her father." "She's with family," Simone said. "Safe, happy. You'll see her when I'm ready, not because you saw a magazine." The crowd shifted, pulling her toward a group of admirers. Julian watched her go, her strength a rebuke to his shallow regret. She was a star, untouchable, and he was the fool who'd let her slip away. Back in Brooklyn, Simone tucked Zayla into bed, her daughter's giggles a balm. The gala had shaken her, Julian's plea, his stunned gaze, but it hadn't broken her. She'd built a life, a voice, a legacy. Her phone buzzed with messages, fans inspired by her speech, an offer for a book deal. But questions lingered. Would Julian fight for Zayla? For her? Was his regret real or just a reaction to her glow? And Clara, had she been a lie or a truth Simone wasn't ready to face? As she sketched, her pencil tracing Zayla's face, Simone felt the weight of her journey. She'd turned pain into power, but the past wasn't done with her. Julian's world, his empire, was circling back. She was ready, but at what cost? Simone closed her sketchbook, Zayla's sleeping face a quiet anchor in the Brooklyn apartment. The gala's electric energy still hummed in her veins, her speech, the crowd's applause, and Julian's stunned plea, "I want you back." His words, raw with regret, had stirred old wounds. She'd walked away, her head high, but his presence lingered like a shadow. The magazine cover had exposed her triumph, but also her vulnerability. Julian, the man who discarded her, now saw her worth. Was his pursuit genuine, or just another game in his polished world? Simone's heart wavered, but her resolve held firm. She'd built a life without him, and she wouldn't crumble. The next morning, a bouquet of white roses arrived, their petals stark against her modest kitchen table. The card, in Julian's precise handwriting, read, "I see you now, Simone. Let's talk. J." She stared at it, her pulse quickening. Zayla babbled from her high chair, oblivious to the storm brewing in her mother's chest. Simone tossed the card, but kept the flowers, their beauty a small rebellion. She wasn't ready to forgive, but she couldn't deny the pull of their past, the nights he'd made her feel like the center of his universe. Julian's pursuit escalated. A sleek black box arrived the next day, containing a sapphire necklace that matched the gown she'd worn at their first gala. The note was simpler. "For you, always." Simone's fingers traced the gems, memories flooding back, his whispers, his touch. But the same hands that chose this gift had pushed her away, criticized her postpartum body, left her for business and Clara's shadow. She snapped the box shut, shoving it into a drawer. Not this time, she muttered, though her voice wavered. Her phone buzzed with texts from an unknown Mipper. Julian, she knew, bypassing her block. I was a fool. Let me make it right. Zayla deserves us together. She deleted them, but each ping chipped at her armor. Zayla was the heart of it. Her daughter deserved a father, but not one who valued image over love. Simone's therapy sessions with Dr. Ellis became her refuge, the older woman's calm voice cutting through the noise. He's trying to buy you back, Dr. Ellis said, her eyes sharp. What do you want, Simone? I want to be enough, Simone admitted, her throat tight. For me, for Zayla. But he's still in here. She touched her chest, the ache of their love undeniable. Then set boundaries, Dr. Ellis urged. You're not the woman he left. Make him see that. Simone tried. She ignored the gifts, a cashmere scarf, a first edition art book, but Julian's persistence grew. He sent a video message, his face filling her screen, his blue eyes softer than she remembered. Simone, I messed up, he said, his voice low. I didn't see you, not really. I'm not perfect, but I want to try. For you, for Zayla. Please, just meet me. She froze, her finger hovering over delete. The man who'd called her, barely holding it together, was gone, replaced by this humbled version. Or was it a performance? Clara's name, the late nights, the gossip columns, they haunted her. Yet Zayla's giggle, echoing from the living room, tugged at her. Could Julian change? Could they be a family? The suspense of her indecision gnawed at her. Simone's platform grew. Her speeches packed venues. Her Instagram hit 1 million followers. But Julian's pursuit was a private battle. At a women's empowerment panel, a fan asked, "How do you forgive someone who broke you?" Simone paused, Julian's latest text, "I'm not giving up," fresh in her mind. You don't forgive for them, she said, her voice steady. You do it for you to let go. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back. The crowd cheered, but her words felt like a vow she wasn't sure she could keep. That night, another gift arrived, a tiny paint set for Zayla, with a note, "For my daughter. I want to know her." Simone's heart twisted. Zayla, now 18 months, was starting to ask about Dada, pointing at photos Simone hadn't hidden well enough. Denying Julian access felt like punishing her daughter, but letting him in risked everything she'd built. She called Maya, her friend from the moms group, spilling the story over wine. He's relentless, Simone said, gesturing to a stack of unopened packages. Part of me wants to believe he's changed, but he broke you, Maya finished, her eyes fierce. You're a queen now, Simone. He doesn't get to waltz back because you're shining. I know, Simone said, but her voice cracked. Zayla deserves a dad, though. What if I'm wrong to shut him out? Maya softened. Then meet him on your terms. Neutral ground, no promises. See who he really is. Simone nodded, the idea taking root. She texted Julian from her new number. 1 meeting. Coffee shop. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. No gifts, no games. His reply was instant. Thank you. I'll be there. The coffee shop was a bustling Brooklyn spot, far from Julian's Manhattan gloss. Simone arrived early, Zayla with Maya for the morning. Her tailored blazer and jeans hugged her strong, transformed body, her caramel skin radiant with purpose. Julian walked in, his usual polish slightly frayed, hair mussed, eyes tired. He looked human. Simone, he said, sitting across from her, his voice soft. You look incredible. Don't, she said, her tone firm. This isn't about how I look. It's about what you did. He nodded, hands clasped. I was shallow, cruel. I let my world, my ego, blind me. Losing you, Zayla. It woke me up. She studied him, searching for the lie. And Clara? The late nights? You expect me to believe it was just business? His jaw tightened, guilt flashing. Clara was a mistake. Not an affair, but too close. I was running from us, from my failures. I'm sorry. The admission hit hard, confirming her fears but also his honesty. You threw us away, she said, her voice low. I rebuilt without you. Why should I let you back? For Zayla, he said, leaning forward. And because I love you, Simone. Not the old you, not the new you. Just you. Her chest ached, the words she'd once craved now tangled with doubt. Love doesn't walk away, Julian. I'm not the same woman you married. I don't need you anymore. I know, he said, his voice breaking, but I need you. Both of you. She stood, her resolve wavering but intact. I'll think about it. For Zayla's sake, not yours. Don't push me. He nodded, watching her leave, his eyes heavy with hope and fear. Simone walked into the Brooklyn sun, her heart torn. Self-respect was her armor, but love, messy, stubborn, still pulsed for the man who'd broken her. Zayla's future hung in the balance, and so did her own. Would she open the door to Julian, or keep it locked? Simone stepped out of the Brooklyn coffee shop, the weight of Julian's words, I need you, clinging to her like damp air. His confession about Clara, his raw regret, had cracked her defenses, but she'd walked away, her self-respect a shield. Zayla's laughter, echoing from Maya's apartment where she'd picked her up, grounded her. Julian's pursuit, gifts, texts, that humbled look in his eyes, stirred memories of their love, but also the pain of his rejection. She'd transformed, not just her body but her soul, into a woman who didn't need his validation. Yet the question lingered. Could he fit into the life she'd built for herself and Zayla, or was he a risk she couldn't afford? As she tucked Zayla into bed, her daughter's sleepy "da-da" tightened the knot in her chest. She'd promised to think about Julian, but her heart and mind were at war. Weeks passed, and Julian respected her boundary, his texts slowing to occasional check-ins about Zayla. Simone's life surged forward. Her speaking engagements packed auditoriums, her art sold out at galleries, and her Instagram posts inspired thousands. She was a beacon of resilience, her caramel skin glowing with purpose, her curves a testament to strength, not shame. But the quiet moments, sketching late at night, brought Julian's face to mind, his old charm, his new vulnerability. She hated how much she still cared. The invitation to a charity event in Manhattan arrived unexpectedly, a high-profile gala for women's empowerment. Simone hesitated. Julian's world of glitz was a minefield, but the cause was close to her heart, and the organizer, a fan of her work, insisted. Your story will light up the room, the email read. She agreed, choosing a sleek emerald gown that hugged her transformed figure, a nod to the night she'd first met Julian. Zayla stayed with Maya, and Simone steeled herself for the evening, unaware that fate was about to force a reckoning. The gala was a dazzling affair, held in a skyscraper ballroom with panoramic views of Manhattan. Simone arrived, her presence commanding, heads turning as she moved through the crowd. Her speech was the centerpiece, and she delivered it with fire, recounting her journey from heartbreak to empowerment. They tried to dim my light, she said, her voice ringing clear, but I learned to shine brighter. The applause was thunderous, women wiping tears, men nodding in respect. She felt untouchable until she saw Julian. He stood near the bar, his tailored suit impeccable, but his posture less assured. His eyes, locked on her, held a mix of awe and longing. Simone's pulse spiked, her confidence wavering. She hadn't expected him here, though his company often sponsored such events. As the crowd mingled, he approached, his steps deliberate like a man crossing a tightrope. Simone, he said, his voice low, almost reverent. You were incredible. She crossed her arms, her gaze steady. Thank you. I didn't know you'd be here. I didn't know either, he said, his hands in his pockets, a nervous tick she hadn't seen before. But I'm glad I am. You're everything. Her chest tightened, his words echoing the man who'd once called her perfect. But she wasn't that naive dreamer anymore. Save the flattery, Julian. I'm not here for you. I know, he said quickly, his voice raw. I was a fool, Simone. I saw you as something I could control, something to fit my world. I was wrong. She tilted her head, her voice sharp but calm. Yes, but now I'm wise. He flinched, the truth landing hard. I deserve that. But I'm trying to change. For you, for Zayla. I want to be the man you both deserve. Her laugh was soft, bitter. You don't get to decide what we deserve. You threw us away, Julian. You looked at me, postpartum, exhausted, human, and decided I wasn't enough. Do you know what that did to me? His eyes glistened, his voice breaking. I know. I see it now, and it kills me. I was shallow, selfish. Clara, the late nights. I was running from my failures, not from you. I'm so sorry. The mention of Clara stung, though his honesty disarmed her. She'd suspected, feared, but hearing it confirmed was a fresh cut. You ran to her, she said, her voice trembling. While I was raising our daughter, you were… What? Chasing a fantasy? It wasn't like that, he said, stepping closer, his hands raised in surrender. Clara was a mistake, a moment of weakness. It never went anywhere. You were always the one I loved. Love doesn't do what you did, she snapped, her emotions surging. Love doesn't criticize a body that gave you a child. It doesn't suggest a break when things get hard. He nodded, tears spilling. I know. I failed you, Simone. But I'm here begging for a chance to make it right. Not because of the magazine, not because you're a star now, just because you're you. The room seemed to shrink, the crowd's hum fading as her heart pounded. She saw the man she'd loved, the one who'd danced with her in Santorini, who'd vowed forever, but also the one who'd left her broken. Her self-respect screamed to walk away, but Zayla's face, her dada, questions, held her in place. Could he change? Could she trust him with her heart, or even just Zayla's? I don't know if I can forgive you, she said finally, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. Zayla deserves a father, but I deserve respect. You hurt me, Julian, deeply. I'll spend my life proving I'm worthy, he said, his voice fierce. No gifts, no games, just me showing up. For both of you. She studied him, the weight of his promise heavy. Words aren't enough, she said. You have to show me, slowly. And if you slip, if you hurt us again, you're gone. He nodded, hope flickering in his eyes. I understand. Whatever it takes. A woman approached, a gala organizer, pulling Simone toward a group of donors. We need you for photos, she said, oblivious to the tension. Simone glanced at Julian, her heart a battlefield of love and caution. This isn't over, she said, her voice firm, but it's not a yes. He smiled, small but genuine. I'll wait. As she posed for photos, her smile radiant for the cameras, her mind churned. Julian's pursuit had cracked her resolve, but her strength, forged in therapy, art, and motherhood, was unshakable. She'd built a life without him, a platform that lifted others. But Zayla's future and her own heart kept the door ajar. Could he earn her trust, or was this another chapter of his control? And Clara, had Julian truly cut ties, or was there more to uncover? The gala ended, and Simone returned to Brooklyn, Zayla's sleepy hug grounding her. She didn't tell Maya about Julian yet, needing time to process. Her phone buzzed, a text from him. Thank you for tonight. I'm here, whenever you're ready. She didn't reply, but didn't delete it either. The confrontation had bared their souls, but the path forward was uncertain, a tightrope between past love and hard-won wisdom. Can people truly change? What's your take? Simone sat in her Brooklyn apartment, the faint glow of a street lamp filtering through the window as Zayla slept soundly in her crib. The charity gala's intensity lingered, Julian's tearful confession, his plea for a second chance, her own sharp retort. Now I'm wise. His promise to change, to show up for her and Zayla, had cracked the walls she'd built, but not enough to let him back into her heart. Her journey, therapy, art, the stage, had forged a woman who didn't need his love to shine. Yet Zayla's innocent "Deda" echoed, a reminder that her daughter deserved a father, even if Simone couldn't trust Julian with her soul. His text, "I'm here whenever you're ready," sat unanswered on her phone, a quiet challenge. The confrontation had laid their past bare, but the future was hers to shape. The weeks following the gala were a delicate dance. Julian kept his word, dialing back the lavish gifts but sending thoughtful gestures. A children's book for Zayla, a handwritten note. No pressure, just here. Simone watched closely, wary but curious. Her platform grew. Her latest speech at a women's summit trended online, her art booked for a solo gallery show. But her personal life was a tighter spotlight. Maya, ever her anchor, urged caution over coffee. "He's playing nice now," she said, stirring her latte. "But leopards don't change spots." "I know," Simone said, her fingers tracing Zayla's toy on the table. "But Zayla's asking about him. I can't erase her dad, even if he broke me." "Then set rules," Maya said. "He gets her, not you. Don't let those blue eyes fool you." Simone nodded, but the tug of their past was stubborn. In therapy, Dr. Ellis pressed her to define her boundaries. "You're torn because you loved him," she said. "But love isn't enough without trust. What does Simone want?" "Peace," Simone admitted, her voice soft. "For Zayla to have a dad, but for me to stay whole." "Then decide," Dr. Ellis said. "Not for him, but for you." The decision crystallized slowly, shaped by small moments. Julian requested a meeting to discuss Zayla, and Simone chose a neutral park, Zayla toddling between them. He was gentle, kneeling to tie her tiny shoe, his laugh genuine as she babbled. Simone watched, her heart softening for Zayla's sake, but her guard stayed up. "She's happy," Julian said, glancing at Simone. "You're an incredible mom." "She's my world," Simone replied, her tone even. "That's why I'm careful." He nodded, accepting her distance. "I'm learning, Simone. I want to be her dad, whatever that looks like." His humility was new, disarming, but Simone's memories, his criticism, Clara's shadow, the break that shattered her, kept her grounded. She began allowing supervised visits, Julian meeting Zayla at the park or library, always with Simone or Maya present. He was patient, learning Zayla's favorite songs, her picky eating habits. Simone saw effort, but effort wasn't absolution. Her life outside Julian flourished. The gallery show was a triumph. Her paintings, bold, raw depictions of motherhood and resilience, selling out. A publisher offered a memoir deal, and her speeches packed venues, her caramel skin radiant under stage lights. Fans flooded her Instagram, calling her a beacon of self-love. But Julian's presence, steady and quiet, was a constant pull. He attended one of her talks, sitting in the back, his applause joining the crowds. Afterward, he approached, his eyes soft. "You're changing lives, Simone. I'm proud." "Don't," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. "This isn't for you." "I know," he said, hands raised. "Just wanted you to hear it." The sincerity shook her, but she held firm. Late nights, sketching Zayla's sleeping form, she wrestled with her heart. She still loved the man Julian had been, the one who'd danced with her in Santorini, but the man who'd left her wasn't him. Zayla deserved his effort, but Simone deserved freedom from his shadow. The decision, when it came, was clear, born of her hard-won wisdom. She invited Julian to her apartment the first time he'd seen it. Zayla played nearby, stacking blocks as Simone poured tea, her hands steady. The space was hers, art on the walls, Zayla's toys scattered, a contrast to his sterile penthouse. Julian looked out of place, his tailored jacket too formal for her cozy world. "We need to talk about the future," she said, sitting across from him. "Zayla's future." He leaned forward, hope flickering. "I'm ready. Whatever you want." She took a breath, her voice calm but resolute. "You can be her father. Co-parenting, shared time, real involvement. I see you trying, and she needs that. But for our child, yes. For us, no." His face fell, the air heavy with her words. "Simone, I love you. I know I messed up, but I'm changing." "You're trying," she acknowledged, her eyes meeting his. "But love isn't enough. You broke me, Julian. My body, my heart. You judged me when I was most vulnerable. I've built something stronger without you, and I won't risk that." He swallowed, tears brimming. "I see you now. The real you. Isn't that worth something?" "It's worth Zayla having a dad," she said, her voice softening but firm. "But my heart's not open. Not to you. Maybe one day we'll be friends for her sake, but that's all." He nodded slowly, pain etching his features. "I'll take what you're offering, for Zayla, but I won't stop hoping." "Don't," she said, her tone sharp. "Hope for her, not me. Respect my choice." He looked at Zayla, stacking blocks with fierce focus, and his shoulders sagged. "I will. I promise." They outlined a plan: weekend visits, shared holidays, open communication. Simone set boundaries. No gifts, no pressure, no blurring lines. Julian agreed, his voice quiet but sincere. As he left, hugging Zayla goodbye, Simone felt a weight lift. She'd chosen herself, her peace, without closing Zayla's door to him. It was freedom, hard-won and bittersweet. The months that followed tested her resolve. Julian kept his word, showing up for Zayla with consistency, reading her stories, taking her to the zoo, learning her quirks. Simone watched, her trust in his fatherhood growing, but her heart stayed guarded. Her life soared, her memoir outline took shape, her speeches reached global audiences, and her art became a symbol of resilience. Zayla thrived, her laughter a bridge between two worlds. But questions lingered. Julian's past, Clara, the late nights, remained a shadow, though he swore it was over. Simone didn't dig, choosing to focus on her present. The mysterious donor from her first story, the cryptic email, echoed faintly, a reminder of unresolved threads. Had Julian's empire played a role in her rise, or was it all her own? She pushed it aside, her focus on Zayla and her mission. One evening, as Simone tucked Zayla into bed, her daughter clutched a drawing. A family, 3 stick figures under a tree. "You, me, Dada," Zayla said, yawning. Simone kissed her forehead, her heart full but steady. She'd made the right choice for both of them. Julian was Zayla's father, but Simone was her own hero, her light undimmed by his shadow. Simone drove back to Brooklyn, the gala's lights fading in her rear view as Julian's tearful plea, "I'll spend my life proving I'm worthy," echoed in her mind. The confrontation had been a storm of raw emotion, his admission about Clara and his regret cracking the walls she'd built. Yet her wisdom, forged through heartbreak and self-discovery, held firm. She'd left him with a challenge: prove himself, not with words, but actions. Zayla's sleepy hug when she got home grounded her, but the weight of Julian's pursuit and her own conflicted heart kept sleep at bay. Could he be the father Zayla needed? Could she ever trust him again? As she tucked her daughter's blanket around her, Simone knew the decision loomed, a tightrope between love's ghost and her hard-won strength. The weeks following the gala were a delicate dance. Julian didn't push, his texts sparse but thoughtful. "Can I see Zayla soon?" Or "Heard your speech went viral, proud of you." Simone felt the shift. He was trying, his usual polish replaced by a quieter sincerity. But trust was a slow burn, and she wasn't the woman who'd once melted at his charm. Her life was full, speaking gigs, art shows, Zayla's first steps into toddlerhood. Her platform grew, her story of resilience inspiring women worldwide. Yet Julian's presence, even from a distance, stirred questions. Was his change real? Could she co-parent without reopening her heart? Simone leaned on her support system. In therapy, Dr. Ellis probed gently. "He's showing effort," she said. "But what does your gut say?" "It says, protect myself," Simone admitted, her fingers twisting a sketch pencil. "Zayla needs him, but I don't. Not like before." "Then define the boundaries," Dr. Ellis urged. "You're in control now." Maya, over coffee, was blunter. "He's got some nerve thinking he can charm his way back," she said, slicing a bagel. "But Zayla's his kid. Let him step up, but keep him at arm's length." Simone nodded, the clarity helping. She arranged a meeting at a park, neutral ground, Zayla toddling between them. Julian arrived, no suit, just jeans and a hesitant smile. Zayla, now 20 months, squinted at him, then giggled as he pushed her on a swing. Simone watched, her heart a tug of war. He was good with her, patient, but memories of his cruelty, "You've let yourself go," kept her guarded. "You're a natural," she said, her tone neutral, as Zayla clapped. "I want to be," he replied, his eyes on her. "I missed so much." "I'm sorry, Simone." She nodded, not ready to soften. "This is about her, Julian, not us." "I know," he said, his voice low. "I'll follow your lead." The park visits became weekly, Julian consistent, bringing Zayla small gifts, a stuffed bunny, a board book. Simone supervised, her boundaries firm, no penthouse, no overnights, no promises. He respected them, but his eyes lingered, hopeful, searching. She felt the pull of their old love, the man who'd danced with her under Santorini stars, but her self-respect was stronger. She'd rebuilt without him, her caramel skin radiant with purpose, her body a testament to strength, not his approval. Her platform gave her clarity. At a conference in Chicago, she spoke to a packed room, her voice steady. "I thought love meant fitting someone else's mold," she said, her gaze sweeping the crowd. "But real love starts here." She touched her chest, and the applause was deafening. Backstage, a fan asked about forgiveness. "It's not about erasing pain," Simone said. "It's about choosing yourself first." The words were her compass, guiding her with Julian. But the past wasn't silent. A gossip blog resurfaced Clara's name, linking her to Julian at a recent tech event. Simone's stomach churned, though the article was vague. She didn't ask him. Pride wouldn't let her, but the doubt festered. Was he truly done with Clara, or was his pursuit a reaction to her glow? Zayla's growing attachment to Dada complicated things. "When Daddy come?" she'd ask, her tiny voice a knife. Simone couldn't deny her daughter a father, but could she share space with a man who'd broken her? The decision crystallized after a call from her mother in Georgia. "You're stronger than he ever deserved," her mom said, her voice warm. "But don't let anger rob Zayla of a dad. You can handle him, baby." Simone knew it was time. She invited Julian to her apartment, a rare step. Zayla napped, the space quiet except for the hum of Brooklyn outside. Julian sat on her thrift store couch, looking out of place but earnest. "Thank you for letting me see her," he said, his hands clasped. "It means everything." Simone stood, arms crossed, her heart steady. We need to talk about what this is. Zayla loves you, and you're showing up. That's good. But you need to understand where I stand. He leaned forward, hope flickering. I'm listening. She took a breath, her voice clear. For our child, yes. For us, no. His face fell, but she pressed on. I'll co-parent Julian. You can be her father, visits, holidays, support. But romantically, we're done. I've fought too hard to be the woman I am now. I can't go back to loving someone who didn't love me when I needed it most. He swallowed, tears glinting. I understand. I hate it, but I get it. I hurt you, and I'll carry that forever. But Zayla, I'll be there for her. Always. She nodded, relief mixing with a quiet ache. Then we set rules, scheduled visits, no surprises. You respect my life, my space. And Clara, whatever that was, it stays dead. If I hear her name again, we're done. Even for Zayla. It's over, he said, his voice firm. It never really started. I swear she studied him, wanting to believe but knowing trust would take years, if ever. Prove it with actions, she said, not words. He stood, his shoulders heavy. I will. And Simone, I'm proud of you. I know it's not my place, but you're extraordinary. Her lips twitched, not quite a smile. I know. He left, and Simone exhaled, the weight of her decision settling. Co-parenting was a bridge, not a surrender. Zayla would have her father, but Simone would keep her heart. She glanced at her sketchbook, open to a drawing of herself, strong, radiant, free. That was her truth, not Julian's regret. Life moved forward. Julian kept his word, showing up for Zayla with consistency. Park dates, story times, even a clumsy attempt at braiding her hair. Simone watched, her guard high but softening at Zayla's joy. Her platform soared, a book deal, a TED Talk invitation. But she stayed grounded, her Brooklyn roots firm. Maya threw a small party for her latest art show, toasting to Simone, who turned ashes into fire. Yet questions lingered. Clara's shadow, though fading, wasn't gone. Gossip blogs were too quiet, almost suspiciously so. Julian's change felt real, but was it deep enough? And Zayla, growing fast, might one day ask why her parents weren't together. Simone was ready for those questions, her strength a shield, but the future was a canvas yet to be painted. For now, she'd chosen herself, and that was victory enough. Simone stood in her Brooklyn apartment, the quiet hum of Zayla's laughter from the living room grounding her. Her decision to co-parent with Julian, while closing the door on romance, had brought a fragile peace. His consistent presence in Zayla's life, weekly park visits, bedtime stories, eased her daughter's longing for Dada. But Simone's heart remained her own. Her platform as an influencer and speaker soared, her art and words lifting others, yet the shadow of Clara's name and Julian's past lingered, a faint question mark. She'd chosen herself, her caramel skin radiant with purpose, her strength a beacon. As she sketched, Zayla's tiny hand smudging the page, Simone felt the future opening, a canvas ready for new colors. The idea for the foundation came during a late-night talk with Maya, wine glasses empty on the table. You're helping women everywhere, Maya said, gesturing to Simone's latest Instagram post, flooded with comments from mothers inspired by her journey. Why not make it bigger? Something real for moms like us. Simone's eyes lit up. A foundation, she said, the words sparking. For single mothers, resources, community, a way to thrive, not just survive. She threw herself into it, her energy boundless. With her growing platform, she secured grants and partnered with local nonprofits. The Simone Miles Foundation launched in a Brooklyn community center, its mission to provide single mothers with childcare, job training, and mental health support. At the opening, Simone stood before a crowd of mothers, donors, and press, Zayla clapping from Maya's arms. "This is for us," Simone said, her voice steady, her emerald dress echoing her first gala with Julian. "For every woman told she's not enough. You are, and we're here to lift you up." The applause was thunderous, tears glinting in the audience. Simone felt unstoppable, her pain transformed into purpose. The foundation grew fast: workshops, scholarships, a hotline for moms in crisis. She poured her heart into it, balancing Zayla's toddler milestones and her own career. Julian attended the launch, a quiet supporter, donating generously but keeping his distance. "It's incredible," he told her afterward, his eyes soft. "You're incredible." "For them," she said, nodding to the mothers mingling. "Not for you." He smiled, accepting her boundary. Co-parenting worked. Zayla thrived, her giggles filling their shared moments. But Simone's heart stayed guarded. Clara's name had faded from gossip, but trust was a slow rebuild. She focused on her work, her daughter, her art, letting love wait. Then she met Elias. He was a social worker, volunteering at the foundation's first job fair. Tall, with warm brown skin and a laugh that crinkled his eyes, he had a quiet strength that drew her in. They bonded over late-night setup, sorting resumes and sharing stories. "I grew up with a single mom," he said, stacking chairs. "Your foundation. It's what she needed." Simone smiled, her guard softening. "That's why I do it. For her, for me, for Zayla." He nodded, his gaze lingering. "You're not just doing it, you're living it." Their connection grew slowly, rooted in shared values. Elias wasn't dazzled by her fame or polished world. He saw her essence, the woman who'd fought through heartbreak to shine. He joined her at foundation events, his calm presence a contrast to Julian's intensity. Zayla adored him, tugging his hand to play. One evening, after a long day at the community center, they sat on Simone's couch, Zayla asleep, a jazz record spinning softly. "You're different," Simone said, her voice thoughtful. "You don't expect anything." Elias tilted his head, his eyes warm. "I love you for who you are, not who you were." The words hit deep, a balm to wounds Julian had left. She leaned in, their kiss gentle but electric, a promise of something real. Elias wasn't a billionaire, didn't chase perfection. He valued her laughter, her strength, her messy, beautiful truth. Their romance bloomed quietly, away from the public eye. He cooked her favorite meals, danced with Zayla in the living room, and listened when she shared her fears. About Julian, about Zayla's future, about her own heart. Julian noticed. At a park handoff, his eyes lingered on Elias, who joined them to push Zayla's swing. "He's good with her," Julian said, his tone neutral but strained. "He is," Simone replied, her voice firm. "He's good for us." Julian nodded, a flicker of loss in his eyes, but he didn't push. He'd kept his promise, consistent, respectful, a father to Zayla. But Simone's new love was a line he couldn't cross. She saw the man he was trying to be, but her heart belonged elsewhere, to someone who'd never asked her to change. The Foundation's first anniversary gala was a triumph, held in a Brooklyn warehouse transformed with art and lights. Simone stood on stage, her caramel skin glowing, her speech a call to action. "We're not just surviving," she said, her eyes sweeping the crowd. Elias, Zayla, Maya, even Julian in the back. "We're building lives, families, futures." The crowd roared, and Simone felt it. A new beginning, not just for the mothers she served, but for herself. Afterward, Elias pulled her close, his whisper warm against her ear. "You're changing the world, Simone." She smiled, her heart full. "We are." Zayla ran up, clutching a drawing of 3 figures: her, Simone, Elias. "Family," she said, and Simone's eyes stung. Julian approached, his smile bittersweet, offering a nod to Elias. "Good speech," he said, then to Zayla. "Ready for ice cream, kiddo?" Zayla giggled, taking his hand, and Simone let them go, trust easing her worry. Elias squeezed her shoulder, grounding her. The past, Julian's betrayal, Clara's shadow, wasn't gone, but it no longer defined her. She'd launched a movement, found love, and built a home where Zayla thrived. Questions lingered. Would Julian's change hold? Would Elias stay as steady as he seemed? But Simone was ready. Her essence, not her image, was her power, and she'd never let it dim again. What does true love mean to you? Let's have a heartfelt conversation in the comments. Simone's journey is a testament to the strength and resilience of women everywhere. It's a reminder that self-worth isn't defined by others, but by oneself. Subscribe for more empowering stories. While you are at it, check out the video currently showing on your screen. See you in the next one.